Ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The hour has arrived for us to open up our special meeting, our public hearing in regards to our budget and our tax rate. And at this time, we do call the meeting to order, and we would recognize a moment of silence. Thank you. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board members, you have before you at this time our agenda for tonight, which includes our public hearing on our proposed tax rate for the fiscal year 2023-24. Also, new business in regards to the Surry County Parks and Recreation fee schedule. Could I get a motion, or are there any questions on the agenda? If there be no questions or discussion, could we have a motion to adopt our agenda for this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
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 Opposed? The agenda has been adopted. Our first item is our public hearing. So at this time, we're going to turn it over to staff for our presentation on our tax rate.
Good evening, Honorable Board of Supervisors, County Administrator, and County Attorney, and public. The public hearing on the proposed tax rate. By the Code of Virginia, the board is prohibited from voting on the proposed budget tonight. The public hearing on the proposed tax rate, which is tonight, May 16th. The board is also scheduled to vote on the FY24 budget and CIP at the set the tax rates on May 18th, 2023, which is Thursday. Additionally, at some point, to also adopt the financial policies. In FY23, the real estate tax rate was reduced to 72 cents per $100 valuation to provide relief to taxpayers. The 2024 real estate values reflect a limited scope reassessment that was performed in 2023 to ensure that the county's sales assessment ratio remains at or near 100%. Home values have increased nationwide. Without this reassessment, the county risks losing Public Service Corporation tax revenue. The limited scope reassessment and new development in the county have contributed to a projected increase in real estate tax revenue of $600,000 and $53,000 respectively for FY24. These amounts are offset by the county's continued tax relief program, which is estimated to reduce revenue by $200,000 for FY24. The taxable properties, real estate, including mobile homes, 72 cents, which is no change from the previous year. Personal property, vehicles, trucks, and motorcycles, $4, no change. Other personal and business property, $4, no change. Machinery and tools, $1, no change. Passenger buses, $3, no change. And the PPTRA percentage went to 31 from 29%.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Morris, and good evening, Chairman Elliott, Vice Chairman Little, and members of the board, and Ms. Perkins, and to the citizens who are assembled this evening. As Mr. Morris has just presented to you all, tonight we are having the public hearing on the proposed tax rate increase. And I do want to provide just a brief explanation, board members, because we want to explain that this year, of course, we had a limited scope reassessment. So with that limited reassessment, there is what we always refer to as the effective tax rate as a result of the reassessment. So the effective tax rate, which we have referred to as the lower tax rate, is 70 cents. We are advertising and we are also proposing in our recommended budget a tax rate of 72 cents, which is the current tax rate that we are here in this fiscal year. So the tax rate that the proposed budget was based on the tax rate as the current tax rate of 72 cents per $100 of assessed value.
Thank you, Ms. Rollins. At this time, before we open up the floor to public comments, we're going to let all of our citizens know that if you would like to speak on this matter, we're asking you to sign up one of the forms in the rear and present them to staff so that we can do this in a timely and orderly manner. You will have 3 minutes to stand and to give your comments to the board in regards to the tax rate for this coming year. We asked that we would keep our comments directed towards the matter that's before us at this time. So, having that said, if you would like to speak, we ask that you would please sign a form and get it to staff at the desk. We open up the public hearing at this time, and the first person who asked to speak is Mr. Jeremiah Williams and Susan Moss. You may come forth. You have 3 minutes to address the board.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening,
evening.
sir.
It's been a while. It's
Yes,
good to
it
see
has.
all of you.
Same here.
My name is Jeremiah Williams from the Dendron District, and with me is Susan Moss. And as citizens of Surry County, we want to let you know that with your help, we have reached unity in the community. We are quite united in our opinion about the proposed changes. Here are petitions signed by whites, blacks, and Latina citizens calling for a pause on county spending and stabilization of the tax rate based on the equalization rate. We're not here for games. We understand the difference between assessment and tax rate. We also understand dreams, your dreams and our dreams. We all have them. We dream as well for our families. We ask the county to do the same until these economic times settle down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Board of Supervisors, County Commissioner.
Ms. Moss.
I would like to say that we have collected so far 161 names, and we are getting calls for more people that want to sign. So as of tonight, we're not going to turn them in to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Nancy Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Surry County Board of Supervisors. My name is Nancy Rodriguez, and I live in the Spring Grove District. First, I want to thank the staff for furnishing me a copy of the May 8th Davenport and Company Financial Advisory Update. As a resident of the county, I found the report enlightening, and I want to highlight some key areas. I was surprised to learn that currently Surry County is in debt for $21 million. Furthermore, I was pleased to see that the financial report concurred with my previous remarks to the board. To quote the report, the county may want to consider obtaining one or more credit ratings as part of its CIP process during the balance of the calendar year, end of quote. The report takes into consideration these turbulent economic times by issuing a warning to the board and to the citizens of Surry County. Quote, recognize that the substantial amount of economic growth that helped drive the increases in revenue and tax base during the last several years is unlikely to continue. End of quote. Interestingly, the Davenport report identified that 2 cents of the real estate tax rate is needed to give the county the ability to borrow approximately up to $8 million, which explains why the board wants to use the tax rate of 72 cents versus the equalization rate of 70 cents. In summary, members of the board, we need to take a deep breath and ride out this economic storm together. We need to plan for the future by, first, learning what our bond rating will be. Second, we need to diversify our revenue streams outside of the real estate taxes and heed the warning of our financial advisors that the increase in revenues and tax base during the last several years is unlikely to continue. Third, please do not add to our $21 million debt at this time, and use this year to pay down on the debt, which quite possibly may lead us to a better bond rating. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Michael Abley.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Michael Abley, and I live in Spring Grove. The first thing I would like to reiterate is we really need to get a bond rating. This will give us some idea of what we can do and where we're going to go. The proposed increase in taxes would be necessitated for a substantial loan, $7 million, to be used for the betterment of the community, which is commendable. Nobody can argue with that. My question, whether in these really uncertain times, it's a good time to do it. I think we should postpone this for a year and then take another look at it. And when we do take a look at it, I think we should determine how we want to use it. What we badly need is employment in this county and something for our youth. And I think those are the things we should be aimed at. We need to expand our tax base. Everybody is well aware of the fact that we are totally dependent right now on a nuclear power plant, and that's just untenable. It's unlikely we're going to get major industry in here. We're an agricultural community, so stick to that. There are some really interesting and intriguing opportunities for agriculture in this state. Take a look at some of the initiatives by the Governor Northam and Governor Youngkin. And if we do decide to go with this loan at some further time, I think that's what we should be looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Mike Eggleston.
Good evening, Mike Eggleston, Denton Blackwater District. I looked through that budget and I didn't see a single thing in there for people to work at. You want the population to increase in Surry County, give them some place to make a living, and their kids will be here too, not another place to play. Seems like $4 million for a pool, that's a place to pay. How about a place to work? It calls into play something called competency. 15 years ago, you built an industrial park. I didn't hear anything about encouraging another business there. After 15 years, we have one business there. I haven't heard any of you mention a grocery store, or thank God you finally came to your senses and sold that hole in the water at Gray's Creek that you were throwing money in. $80,000 for a bathhouse, and I've yet to see a single person use it. Wake up, folks, you're slowly sinking. Thank you.
Ms. Helen Eggleston?
Mr. Chairman, Board, Ms. Rollins, Surry County budgeted $2.3 million for debt payment at the start of this current fiscal year. The proposed budget lists $2.9 million, or a 26% increase to the county's debt payments for 23-24. Roughly $7 million over the next 2 years. $4 million in new debt in this time of economic stress. And for what? A swimming pool, a pedestrian bike trail, an amphitheater? All for recreation, all for play. We need the grocery store. I hope you will complete that. Mr. Byrd, at the last meeting, made an excellent recommendation. A second paid rescue squad crew and another ambulance. That's the kind of thing that this county needs. This budget doesn't just shock me, it angers me. I want to address it, however, from a different perspective. So much has been said about providing something for our young people. Yes, we do need to do that. We need to help them develop a work ethic. They need to understand that there is more to life than just recreation. Many people in this county work hard to get where they are, and they pay taxes for those who don't or won't. You guys need to be proactive in attracting businesses, jobs to the county. These young people will become adults quickly, and hopefully they will marry and have children of their own. They will need jobs to support themselves and their families. Multiple Family Dollar stores are not going to do it. This is your responsibility as a board. Swimming pools and amphitheaters will not keep our young people in the county. They're not going to keep the older people in the county if we keep going the way we are. Create a work ethic when they are young, and they will become successful adults. Some of them may well replace you on the board at some point in time. Recreation in moderation is good, but work, physical work, also accomplishes a healthy body and the mind, and enriches the county as well. We don't need a swimming pool.
Thank you, Ms.
We
Eggleston.
don't need an amphitheater. We need jobs for us and for our young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Fenton Wyatt?
Chairman Elliott and fellow board members, thank you for letting me talk. I'll be brief. As a retiree in the county, I'm a bit concerned about how much I'm paying in taxes. And I went back and pulled up my tax records from 2010. And starting from 2010, actually when I retired, tax rate, and I'm just addressing real estate. I'm not talking about personal property. That's a whole nother issue. But I paid the same, I paid a tax, I won't even mention the amount. 2010, 2011, I paid the same amount as I paid in 2010. 2012, the same amount. 2013, the same amount. 2014, the same amount. 2015, the same amount. And what I'm trying to say is there was no major tax increases, and everybody's happy. So in 2016, we had a increase, and I'll get to it in a minute, how much the percentage rate was. So from 2016, it went to a new level. 2017 went to the same level. 2018, the same level. 2019, the same level. 2020, the same level. So we still had a period of time where our taxes stayed, okay, and most people, know we got to pay taxes. All right, so then, in 2021, we had a tax increase. All right, people grumble. We don't come up here and raise Cain all the time, and we pay the bill. So in 2022, my wife tells me the taxes went up again. So I grumble again and don't say anything. Just pay it. All right. So now I'm hearing, and I don't know how much y'all are talking about the increase in taxes. So I'm going to tell you the rates in those three increases, the way I calculate it, and I'm not a math wizard, but excuse me for 1 second. All right, 2015 was a 0.74% tax increase. That's not bad. So then in 2021, 8.45%. And I've got the numbers here because I can show you what I paid and what, I can tell you the differences and so you can determine it if my math is wrong. 8.45 in 2021. In 2022, what I paid is actually 15% more. So in those 2 years, it was like 23.5% my taxes went up. As a retiree, I want to know how long I can afford to live in this county. And I know y'all got a tough job, but I got to live too. Thank you.
Mr. Paul Kluber? Kuber? Thank you, sir. Mr. Robert Chandler?
Robert Chandler, Bacon's Castle District. Good evening.
Good evening.
And I hope you guys are doing well. I'm not going to repeat several of the comments that were already made, but there are specifically two things that I must say. Number one is the tax rate increase. I'll be 77 years old August the 5th. I live on a fixed income. And I agree with several of the people that have spoken in here. How are we going to continue to live in the county? I don't get a 20% pay raise every year. I don't get a 5% pay raise every year. There's not very many retired people in here that get a pay raise equivalent to what we are taxing us for. We don't get it. I got a very small COLA for my Social Security this year. It didn't come close to equaling what is being proposed to tax us against. We do need jobs, we do need progress for the young people in this county, but we don't need another $8 million in debt at this time. Please pause and think about what we really need to help the citizens in this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. Mr. Drury, Michael Drury.
Michael Drury, Dendron District, and thank y'all for allowing us to come in and speak this evening, and for y'all's service as well. Having been there, I know it's not easy. So not easy on this side either. I know y'all know this, and some of the public knows this, but I provide legal services for Dinwiddie County and have been helping Dinwiddie County since around 2005, so 15, 17 years, something like this. So I've seen that progression. Dinwiddie's population is a whole lot bigger than Surrey's. There's around 28,000 people. Of course, we're 6,500 people here. Their budget is, this year, is around 156 million. And if you compare apples to apples, they don't double add the school in there. They subtract out the inter-county transfers. So equalized, it's Surrey's a little over 31 million, I believe. The CIP, and I'm very proud of this, is what they do in their processes that I've seen. The CIP this year is 2.9 million. And the reason why is they put in a new office complex and got debt, they're paying down on that. And that number, they're trying to keep it between 2.5 and 2.9 million until that debt starts dropping off. That's $103 a citizen. Surrey is 9.6 million is what y'all are proposing, which is $1,486 a citizen. That debt per citizen is $1,610 a citizen. Surrey's debt that y'all are proposing is going to push us up to $32.51 per citizen. The debt service per year in Dinwiddie is $214 a citizen. Surrey's, under this proposal, is $449 a citizen. Here's my point, and this has always been disappointing for me living here in Surry County. We don't, and citizens are at fault with this too. We don't involve the citizens in our budget process or our CIP. Dinwiddie County has a wonderful sports complex that was proposed by the citizens. The government didn't propose it. The citizens proposed it. And Dinwiddie has a 10-year CIP, and it's a realistic CIP. Of course, economics times change, so it's going to flow, but they know when they're going to buy the fire trucks and when they're going to be the school buses and this type of thing. But that's developed through public participation. They present this through public hearings to the Planning Commission, and the public gets multiple times to talk to this as they develop their CIP. I don't know this. It's my understanding that we're not doing that here. It's not being presented to the Planning Commission. It is not being presented to the public. The government is telling the citizens what to do, and that is not a real good way to govern. Dinwiddie, I don't know how many A's it is, but they have a pretty superior bond rating. It's in the A's. I don't know whether it's double, triple, or just what it is, which means lower interest rates when they borrow. I advocated when on the board that we needed a bond rating too. Surry County, we don't have a bond rating. And again, that will lower your interest rates. Davenport financials show that Surrey's debt is around 21 million. We still are paying debt for the courthouse, Dendron Water, public safety, rescue squad building, and these are things that are needed. Look, just please keep the rate at 70 cents, the equalized rate, and go back and let's develop. Don't give up on your ideals. I think what you're trying to do is wonderful, but let's get some public buy-in and see. I mean, there'll be debates, and it's not always comfortable. So take this time to develop a long CIP with public participation.
Thank you,
This
Mr.
county, this county has had, how can I say it, an undercurrent historically of division in our county, and I think a way to remedy that is through public participation as much as we can, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ernest Milburn.
Mr. Chairman, Board, thank you very much for letting me speak. What I have to say basically goes along with what flows with what's already been said, but a little bit different approach. I will start by saying that and I emphasize, any increase in Surry County debt ceiling should not be considered. Taxes and spending should be frozen, perhaps even reversed to the 2017 level. Again, I emphasize strong and serious consideration to reduce spending. I am proposing that all spending be frozen until such time that a desk audit be conducted on and for every Surry County employee that is paid by any taxpayer's money. The state should audit or arrange a neutral desk audit, a team, if not the state, then by the taxpayers. A taxpayers committee should oversee the audit. Audit should be at least 3 weeks long in duration and cover every aspect of every Surry County employee's job. The proficiency level and efficiency level should be carefully observed and monitored and recorded. This audit will provide evidence if such a large number of employees for the county are required for such a small populated county, and/or should adjustments in jobs be made. The Sheriff's Department should be excluded from this, as they have proven that they are efficient and proficient. There should be no resistance to this audit at all by anyone concerned with it. I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Clara Steen.
Hello, hi, I'm Claire Steen. I work in the registrar's office. I'm just here as a citizen tonight, though. I'm okay with the tax rate. I'm already paying it. I'm a citizen of this county. I see a lot of benefits that I get, just as an individual that lives here. I don't even have children, but I understand the need that we have to have something for these youngins to go do, or else they're not gonna wanna be here. So I'm kinda on board with let's help Surry grow. I'm trying one at a time to convince everybody I meet to come be one of my neighbors. We've been here since 2010, and I have no desire to leave. I think that, you know, trying to grow Surry, the industrial park's a great idea. Let's get people there. Let's get businesses in there. You know, let's work with what we have, and I'm kind of okay with keeping the same tax rate. So that's all I'm here to say.
Thank you, Ms. Steen. Next, we have Shawnee White.
Good evening, Board. I am Charnay, and I am from the Carsley District. I just want to say that you all are tasked with a difficult job. There are several different groups of individuals that want and need a lot of things from you all. I'm in support of doing what is necessary to grow Surry County in all aspects, not just in one, but in several. I agree that there are more jobs that are needed. I agree that there is more recreational and things that for our children to do. I agree about all of that. I agree that there should be some relief for our elderly people. So I am just saying that I want you all to consider what supports all the groups, something that will support each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Abram Ketchum.
Chairman Elliott, members of the board.
Sir.
So we've been through, this will be the third increase since I've been living here. I'm not on a fixed income like a lot of people here, but it hurts. You got high gas prices steadily going up, food's going up, insurance, everything's going up. Nothing is staying baseline anymore. And now our taxes are going up more. You want to keep people in the county and keep the county involved, but you're driving people out of the county because they won't be able to afford to stay here. How do you expect people to be able to provide for themselves and their family when they can't afford to pay their taxes on top of everything else? Thank you.
Ms. Diane Cheek.
Good evening. Diane Cheek from the Surry District. From the Board of Supervisors workshop on May the 8th, I gained greater insight into the direction the board is trying to take with our concerns for population decline and also improvements in the county's credit. It also, at the meeting, you stated that a 2-cent increase in taxes would provide for $8 million to cover an aqua center and also would help our credit position. During the meeting discussion, the question was asked, if not an aqua center, what other suggestions are there to address our county's decline? When it comes to our county, what's the most pressing need? In my mind, it's a 24-hour urgent care system. An urgent care system addresses all age groups. It's needed by all the businesses, and it's really one of the biggest reasons that people don't move here. A few other ideas came to mind: bolstering education with a technical vocational center, or possibly a recycling center on the property we purchased on 460. If we have more community participation in answering the question, what can we do to address our county's decline, then the most important priority will present itself. We have a great opportunity to do this over the next year. There is no need to raise taxes this year. Put the community in partnership with the county government to work on the best investment we can make with our community. Put the Planning Commission and the Economic Development Authority to work on this challenge. Ask for participation from town councils and the Surry Chamber of Commerce. Have students involved, work with churches, set up community committees. Let's work together to solve this problem. We can do this without a tax increase. So I'm asking the leaders of our county to recognize the importance of investing in the people of this county and doing the hard work to make a success. Thank you so much for your time.
Susan Cavello.
Susan Corvello, Claremont District. At the most recent Board of Supervisors budget workshop meeting, discussion was on how 2 cents, 70 or 72 cents, would affect the budget and how much it affected the homeowner. However, discussion did not consider the total difference between last year's assessments values and this year's. As an example was given of $300,000 valued home, and county officials say it was only $4 a month difference. But the example does not account for 2 assessments in 1 year. The house that was valued at $300,000 in December could be valued at $400,000 at this year. I reviewed my previous taxes and the difference in my taxes from 2020 to 2023. In 2020, I paid $2,464. In 2021, I paid $2,672. In 2022, I paid $2,828 at 72 cents. In 2023, if you keep it at 72, I'll be paying $3,246. This is $782 more in taxes in 4 years. So the difference between 2022 and 2023 will be $34.83 a month at 72 cents, not $4. And for the homeowner that's on a fixed budget and may not get a raise this year, $35 makes a huge difference. So yes, taxes do rise each year in Surry County. For 2023, if the tax rate is at 68 cents, my bill would be $3,066, which is still an increase from last year at 68 cents. We should consider surrounding counties that are reducing their real estate taxes to assist their citizens with this inflation that is happening in high real estate assessments. Isle of Wight by 10 cents from 95 to 85, Hampton 6 cents from 124 to 118. They have considerably more services than Surry does, and they do not have a utility like the power plant to supplement their taxes. With all this said, the tax rate needs to be dropped. Even at 69 cents, the county's going to make money more than last year and could still pay their bills with no added expenses. You always say that you're listening to the citizens. I hope to hear more of a discussion about the budget than I heard at the work session, because it is a discussion that the citizens are having. With all this said, I ask that the county to hold off on the recreation center upgrade this year for more research to be done, and possibly considering asking for donations from Dominion, Claremont Manor, Mount Pleasant, any of our large locations that may want their name associated with a new recreation center. If I'm not mistaken, when the county was doing the research back in 2017 about a new recreation center, Dominion was willing to assist since the recreation center fell within the 10-mile radius. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Widener.
Good evening, Robert Widener, Vice Mayor Dendron. $21 million in debt and looking to loan $8 million more in the future. In the workshop, it was mentioned that they were comparing us to counties, neighboring counties, and how we look so good to the neighboring counties. We're a small, rural county. We're not comparable to the counties surrounding us. I've heard a lot of Christian talk, a lot of church-going people here in former meetings. The Bible says, "Owe no man." And in Matthew 5:14, it says, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." Meaning that Surry could be that city, that shining city on a hill, and a good example if we would understand our tax situation and hear the voice of the people. This is almost one voice with a few people that are different, but they spoke as one voice. We have a petition coming in that everybody had signed, 160 some people on that and growing. Paying down our debt instead of raising taxes every year in order to position ourselves to be able to create more debt through loans. This is not the time for that. This is the time to tighten our belts when everybody is hurting so much. And it's more than just the seniors. It's also the young people. What you do to the seniors affects the young people. You raise the taxes on a home, and a young person that buys a home may not be able to afford the taxes on that home. You all are like children in a candy store, spending somebody else's money, like using someone else's credit card with no restrictions. But it's not your money. It's our money. It was said 2 meetings ago, that you must educate us. Educate us. But I want you to look around here at some of these people that are here. There is so much education here, it would blow your mind and far surpass your education. We have engineers, accountants. I'm a SCADA engineer myself. We have many people. And finances, it's not rocket science. We understand finances. We all have checkbooks, and we all pay bills. And we don't need 72 cents. I agree with the 68 cents. So, by the way, raising assessments and taxes, you will lose the population in Surry, which will actually lower your spending, allowable spending. And you'll lose good people. I'm looking to lead a Boston Tea Party. If you don't listen to us, this is taxation without representation. And if anybody can give me an idea of how to have a Boston Tea Party, I'll be glad to lead it. Thank you.
We have Fran Barnes.
I am actually Frances Barnes from Claremont.
Excuse me, Ms. Barnes. Mrs. Barnes.
I don't know. Everybody knows I'm Fran. I really don't have much new to say either because I'm grateful for the recreational activities my children had and that I helped with, but this is not the year for a pool. I have been swimming in the Hopewell pool over the years for the Hopewell Recreational Center until I had some health issues and couldn't go back. One day the heater doesn't work, so there's cold water. One day the roof is broken, and so nobody can swim. They don't always, you've got to have lifeguards, you've got to have instructors. The instructors that I had teaching our classes both left. It's not a pool, just a small pool in my own backyard was not easy. A big pool is a lot more than just a fun place to be. And I think really you have to understand, I think what the gentleman was saying is, if you don't listen now, I think you'll hear at the polls things you don't want to hear, like new people coming in, because I think we just all are tired of being overtaxed. I'm unhappy because I hear grocery store, but I don't see a grocery store. Again, what everyone has said, no reliable medical services. I've seen one or two people, I was at an incident where the man died because nobody came forever until Isle of Wight showed up and it was too late. I'd like to see us clean up our towns. I think that Claremont is working with you now and trying to get some of those things down, but the town of Surry looks terrible. The Surry house is a disgrace. I asked my children if we could buy it and run it, and not one of them answered, and that was a no, I think. Well, we could do it, but they said no. But it's ridiculous that the grocery store, the drugstore and the Surry house look so bad yet. And what good is that for us? That doesn't look good. The old buildings around. The roads out my way are terrible because the solar farm traffic, when it was built out over on our beaver dam, messed up the roads. I'm on the same fixed income like everyone else. But I'm comfortable. I'm not poor. I know that we have some things felt for elderly and for people who can't afford it. But we middle class are getting poor. We can't keep doing this. What I saved for, what I expected to be able to do when I retired, that money is dwindling because I'm paying more for everything. I understand that pool expenses, some factory that makes the chlorine tablets went down and chlorine went up sky high. So just putting in a pool isn't just the beginning of all of that. So I just want to repeat what everybody has said, that this is not the year for these things. I hope we can put a real emphasis on medical services because suddenly I'm in that elderly group too, and I want to be sure that we have services for all of us. Thank you.
Dwayne Perry.
Good evening, Board of Supervisors, citizens of Surry County. My name is Dwayne Perry. I'm from Spring Grove. I understand governance is tough. And I understand that with governance, you have to delegate responsibility to a lot of things that you do. I'm 35-year military. Yeah, I've got some protection for taxes that a lot of people don't. And I talk to a lot of people in our community. What's concerning to me is you've lost a segment of your community. Okay, the demographics don't show what this community is. And that's because you've got a portion of your demographics that has given up on you because they don't think you listen. One thing Iraq taught me is if you want to find out what's going on in the community, you talk to people nobody talks to. Okay? This last week, when they were doing the roads, I talked to the road crew. I said, why are you doing 40? There's nothing wrong with 40. 40 was done 2 years ago. Oh, we're contracted to do 40. Whether it needs it or not, we're going to do 40. I wonder where that money could have been used for other roads. Maybe Beaver Dam? That could have been useful. But there's no governance and there's nobody looking at those things. I asked the same crew 2 days later. They're walking down Spring Grove Road and they're spraying the cracks in the road. I said, you're just going to spray the cracks? Oh, no, we're going to resurface. Then why are you spraying the cracks? Well, we got extra time. We got this material. And so we're contracted. We're going to do it anyway. 5 days later, here they come, resurfacing the road. How much was that material cost? How much was the crew going for 2 days, walking down, spraying that road for all those cracks that they were going to resurface 5 days later? I don't mind seeing $2 increases if you're regulating and you're looking at what's taking place with the contracts that you have first. Look at your contracts, okay? Find out if the contracts are being done correctly. If Surry is not Surry, but if Solar is using those roads, okay, and tearing those roads up where they're not supposed to be going down, make sure you got people watching that. Look at the contracts for paving. Okay, what, 500,000, maybe more to pave those roads that didn't need it at all? I mean, it doesn't take an engineer to drive down 40 and find out that there was nothing wrong with it. Here's the second, third order effect, which is another thing the military taught me. Surry is becoming an eyesore, okay, not just by solar. The people that are not in this room right now are struggling to figure out where they're going to come up with the money for taxes. And you know what they do? They go out and they buy, well, they don't buy, they contract for somebody to come in to cut their lumber, so they can harvest all that lumber, so they can turn around and pay their taxes. So if you go down that main road, you see a lot of clearing that's taking place, so they can prepare to pay taxes last year and probably gonna go again next year. Second, third order effect. Tighten up your stuff, that's all I'm asking. If you tighten up your stuff and you propose a $2 increase, fine, but this year, don't do the $2 increase, tighten up your contracts.
We have none other who have signed up. If there's someone else, we do want to leave it open. You may come, state your name and your district. You have 3 minutes.
J.C. Jokins in the Surry district. I've heard a lot of people talk about all the plans and things you'd like to allocate money to. My understanding is, and I cannot comprehend why so many people are talking about putting in a pool. I believe we've got a state park that has a pool over there. It'd probably be cheaper to revamp that, but we're not discussing that. We're not going to discuss the pavilion that's sitting behind us that don't ever see anything being done with. The building back here. Or the fascia on this building that really doesn't need to be messed with, which costs a lot of money. It comes out of the taxpayers' dollars. This county does not have the amenities to justify any kind of an increase. What this county has is a good reason to reduce the taxes, to help out the senior citizens, the fixed incomes, the single parents, the ones that actually are suffering and struggling, and that is to include blue-collar guys who have full-time jobs, work in the plant, and others because they are providing for a family. If the county itself cannot get amenities and cannot get things in here to bring people in, as it has been stated multiple times, you're going to lose residents and you will not gain any. You don't do that by hiking up the taxes and making people in Isle of Wight go, what is wrong with Surry? Ain't no way I'm living over there. And some of their taxes over there is cheaper, and they have a lot more amenities. Look at the boats, look at the motorcycles, things of that nature. Check them out. You know, it's kind of common sense that if, you know, you're struggling and you don't have it, you don't need loans. If you have something that can be revamped, let's look at that instead of building something completely new. I know on my dollar, I'll revamp an old house before I run out and buy a new one. And on that subject, when they went through and reevaluated homes, if you think my house is worth how much you got it appraised for, whoever did it, I'll sell it to you tonight for that price. Be happy to. I'll go to the house, I'll sign the deed right now, and I'll let you pay the taxes on it. And the funny thing, and I don't know how much there is to it, there's a sign in the back here that says, we're all in this together. So I'm assuming everybody on the board, everybody up here is paying Surry taxes. Every single one. Indeed. Everybody on the board is paying Surry taxes because we're all in this together. I know some of you ain't.
I pay my taxes, sir.
I didn't say you didn't pay your taxes.
Thank you.
That is not what I'm saying, not a single bit. But I do know there is tax breaks. I do know there are things that are given to people that work, fire departments, whatever, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
No, you addressed the board, and
But
you said.
I understand that.
Okay.
So everybody here lives in Surry County. Everybody here pays Surry taxes.
You
Everybody
said-
here across the board.
Sir, I don't want to get in confrontation, but I want to correct you. All the board members pay taxes in Surry.
Okay. Okay. So. A lot of rumbles of disagreement,
that's the
but I
time,
yield
sir.
my time, so
That's
just
the
want to
time,
say, thank you.
Kathleen Widener, Dendron District. I did watch the work session. It was interesting, very informative. And I did want to say thank you to you because you addressed the situation of someone having trouble with their water bill. I believe you addressed that situation. I want to thank you for that. You listened, you heard. And then too, I wanted to say that you, and I think it was Mr. Byrd, that also you had proposed using the Chip Oaks pool, that was maybe an option, but I know there's probably some glitches there or whatever, but that was thoughtful for both of you to at least put that in as a consideration. So I want to say thank you for that. And then the only other thing is with the increase in the assessments on the houses also comes an increase, I'm believing, on our homeowners insurance. So that's yet another thing that wasn't really stated here. So that just, more, okay. And anyway, please consider everything that was said tonight. Everybody did a wonderful job. And I believe we're gonna probably get a whole lot more signatures on that petition before you get it. Thank you for your time.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, Ms. Rollins, fellow citizens. My name is Shinar Newby from Dendron, O'Brien Buford from Elburn. We just want to give you guys an update on Surry Youth Sports. We kicked it off last year within 90 days. What normally takes people about 18 months. The reason being is because we saw a lot of kids having to leave Surry County to go to Smithfield and Sussex and various other places to participate in football and cheerleading specifically, and it's a domino effect. So once the kids go participate in Smithfield, quite naturally the families move out of the county. It affects the schools, it affects the county numbers, and so we want to do our small part to kind of keep families' interest in Surry County at a youth level. We've got a new partnership with the school system and Dr. Sims that we're very proud of. So on Saturdays, beginning August the 26th, there will be an influx of people coming to the county. We have 10 total games, 5 home games. So there'll be an influx to the county from people, just patronizing the local businesses. And so we just wanted to say we appreciate your support, and we're looking to strengthen that partnership in the coming season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
From the Surry District. We've all been talking, everybody's been talking about tax increase. What I'd like to talk about is taking a look at some cuts. How can Surry County make some cuts in their budget? Okay, look at the fleet of vehicles sitting out here, sit out there every day. We got the school district, which you know can be looked at. We, as citizens out here, because of inflation, have had to make cuts to make our budgets balance. You want to increase taxes to make the budget balance instead of making some cuts. We just think it's fair, I just think it's fair that you take the cuts, just like we do, and that you look at the tax increases only afterwards. Thank you.
At this time, we will bring our public comments to a close, and we will now have comments from board members. We will start with Mrs. Little.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members, citizens, and those who have expressed your concerns to us as the leaders of Surry County. I've heard and I've written down some notes, and I just want to say thank you coming out and participating. That is what tonight is about. We want to hear from you, and we are listening, and I just again say thank you for coming out and participating. That's what tonight was all about.
Thank you, Ms. Little. Mr. Pierce?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to say good evening to everyone as well, to everyone that's in attendance, to everyone that's at home watching us as well. I have about 4 pages of notes here of the concerns and some suggestions as far as the taxpayers and citizens of Surry County when it comes to the proposed budget. Like myself and my colleagues, we are going to take the notes and everything that you've given us this evening and put our heads together, see if we can make a informed decision on the betterment of all of Surry County, all the demographics, just make sure everyone is, decision that we make, that everyone is benefiting from it. So again, thank you guys for coming out. Continue, please, to support your board. Please continue to come out to the meetings and supporting your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Mr. Calhoun?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all out there making your comments this evening. I, like Mr. Pierce, took about 4 pages of notes also. Heard your concerns with the current tax rate at 72 cents. I hope that we as a board, all of us took notes and took heed of what you've said. I think with your comments, the notes that we took, and some information that we have recently received, Mrs. Rollins, on this Thursday, and Mr. Chair, are we voting on the budget, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, with these comments and the notes that we're taking and with some potential reductions that were mentioned as well as ones that I submitted, I'm not sure that we're prepared, at least I'm not prepared to vote on this budget as it stands right now. I would like to see potential reduction in some of the CIP funds, CIP activities, to see if we can lower the tax rate from the 72 cents as proposed. And I'd like to make a motion, if I could, to postpone the meeting on Thursday and have an additional work session to go over some the proposals that our citizens have prepared for us, and any that other board members as well as myself have hopefully proposed to the staff for reduction, to see if we get this tax rate down.
Thank you, Mr. Calhoun. We will refer back to you after, in regards to the motion, once final board comments are made and staff make their final presentation. We'll refer back to you. I just want to thank all of the citizens of Surry for coming out tonight. Everything that you said, it did not fall on deaf ears. Again, I have copious amount of notes here, and I believe that based upon your comments on tonight, the board will take in consideration all the things that you said and make an informed decision that's going to be the betterment for the county in its entirety. So we do thank you for participating in this public hearing as we strive to move Surry County forward in a positive manner. Thank you once again. We will refer now to staff for further comments on the tax rate and the budget.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and if I can say that it looks like we have some citizens who may be here for the first time, and I do want to share that everyone understands there have been numerous Board of Supervisors meetings and work sessions as pertains to the budget, and I can say that I want to, again, publicly thank those citizens who have given some very positive comments as pertains to the budget, and obviously in this difficult year, we do understand that a lot of citizens are not in favor of a tax rate, even though it is 2 cents above what the effective tax rate is. So we do understand, board members, that both staff and working with the board and citizens, there are difficult decisions that have to be made as pertains to preparing a budget for the citizens and preparing a work plan. I do want to say that I have heard some good recommendations on this evening, but I also want to say that I've heard a lot of misinformation. And I do think that at some point we're going to have to find a way to properly address a lot of misinformation that has been presented, and perhaps that will give citizens a little bit of better understanding of exactly what goes into the budget. A lot of the misinformation I've heard as pertains to the county's debt. And I do want to say that board members and citizens that were present, you did have the opportunity to hear a strong presentation from our financial advisors as it pertains to what the county's, not just what our current debt is, recommendations for, again, adopting our debt policies. In addition, looking at our debt service and understanding from that financial report as well that the county is in a strong financial position. And why is the county in a strong financial position? And that is because regardless of what some citizens may think, that the county has done very well managing the finances of this county. We do have a strong fund balance. And why do we have a strong fund balance, board members and citizens? It's because the county has done its fiduciary responsibility and has managed the finances of the county very well. So in terms of what has been stated regarding getting a bond rating, I am going to ask Ms. Wendell. She was here during that presentation, but I do want to just take a minute. It was a lot of comments here, and I know we won't be able to answer all the things that some citizens said, but I do want to take the opportunity at least for one, address that one as pertains to what it means to get a bond rating.
Thank you. As Mr. Lax said to the board, both in work sessions that were held earlier this year and in the most recent work session last week, a bond rating does more than just position the county for the potentially impact of lower interest rates. It's really more about being indicative of best practices. And all three of the bond rating agencies have criteria that they are going to be looking for from the county. And that means in order to apply for a bond rating, you're going to need to position the county to be successful in getting that bond rating and getting as high a bond rating as possible. That includes adopting strong financial policies around using one-time money only for one-time expenses, adopting a balanced budget, building strong reserves, and having the the fortitude to follow those policies even when it's not always politically easy to do that. So I've been to apply for bond ratings with localities on many occasions, and all the rating agencies have criteria that the financial advisor will be working with staff to make recommendations for strengthening those policies, some of the items we've already talked about previously, and to continue the good work that the board has done over the past couple of years in directing ongoing tax revenue to capital projects that are really ongoing in nature, like vehicle replacement, and not drawing down fund balance, as has been the case in the past, where fund balance has been used for those types of projects that really are more like operating costs. Continuing to strengthen the fund balance. The board has already begun building a revenue stabilization fund, which was also a recommendation of the financial advisor, to provide a buffer because the county is so very dependent on one tax source. That can help if that revenue declines, which there have been years when it has declined. And in fact, just a couple of years ago, one of the reasons that the tax rate had to go up was because the sales assessment ratio fell to 95.1%, and the county lost the equivalent of 2.5 cents on the tax rate just in Public Service Corporation tax revenue. And because of COVID, investment income was going down because interest rates had gone down. That was another 0.5 cent. So there were, the county was in the hole 3 cents on the tax rate. But the board was committed to making prudent financial decisions, and the county's in better shape now than it was just a few years ago. So I say all that to say, those are the kinds of things that bond rating agencies are going to be looking for, and there's going to be a lot of preparation that will need to go into meeting with them and providing them with the kind of data that they're looking to evaluate.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wendell. And there is, board members, also, Mr. Morris, if you can just go to one of the slides up here, and I think this would also help frame some of the discussion as well, board members. And while he's doing that, I do want to just share, because again, I'm looking out, and I do know that some citizens have not had the opportunity to perhaps review some of the budget information. I do apologize, I'm having a hard time seeing that, but, yeah. Okay, so, I want to share, this information with the board, because again, this gives a little bit more information as pertains to, and Ms. Swindell actually just touched on this, and this gives the board the information as pertains to what the tax rates were in 2020, and it also goes through 2024 of what we're indicating the proposed tax rate is. So if you look at that information, Mr. Morris, can you just kind of go over that information, and then again do a summary of the various years and kind of highlight again that information that you see there. Thank you, sir.
So the equalized tax rate for FY 23 and 24, it's 70 cents respectively. Your adopted proposed tax rate, we go back to FY 20, is 71 cents. 21 was 71 cents. 22, 77. Went down to 72 cents in FY 23. And for the proposed FY 24 is 72 cents as well.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. So basically, again, as far as those major drivers, if you go back, board members and citizens, if you look at 2021, when the tax rate was increased, and I've heard some individuals talk to the tax rate increase in 2021-22. So there was reasons, as Ms. Swindell alluded to, as to why the county had to do that. That is, again, I have to reemphasize that, because it's important to know that the county is not increasing taxes for the sake of increasing taxes. So in 2022, when the tax rate had to go from 71 cents to 77 cents, these are the reasons why again. And it's because the sales assessment ratio declined to 95.1%. With that stated, the county would have lost over $710,000 alone in Public Service Corporation tax revenue. That is nearly 3 cents on the tax rate. Again, the investment income. In addition to that, because we do rely on those local sources, our local revenues also remain flat. Yes, the school and the county did get a cost of living increase back that year. There was new debt service that we had to get because we have heard so many complaints over many years regarding the county's radio communication system. So the Board of Supervisors did have to use debt service. Debt service, board members and citizens, is not a bad thing for local governments. Cities and counties borrow money to be able to do the things that they need to do in the county. Surry County should not be singled out because we do have a $26 million debt over the course of the next years in which we are paying that. And we are within the financial policies that our financial advisors mentioned, and also we are in line with our peers as pertains to the county's debt. So you have to be able to borrow money to be able to get some of the things that the citizens do demand and the citizens do ask for and that the citizens need. So debt service should not be viewed as a negative aspect of county operations. In addition to that, there was a 5 cents tax rate that was proposed that year, but the board elected at that time, you all, to increase about an additional 1 cent so that we could fund the needed vehicles that we needed to do for public safety. In 2022, 2023, there was a full reassessment. We have explained, citizens, on numerous occasions that the county assesses every 6 years. For you all who need to have additional explanation, if you not have heard this before, and I believe some of you have not, please take the opportunity to get informed regarding how the county assesses every 6 years and what that meant. Now, unfortunately, it did mean that we reassessed in the year where inflation was high. That was unfortunate. We had to reassess by law. Okay, and that did mean that a lot of citizens will have some increases in their assessed values, which mean they will have increases in the taxes. I do want to share that it is not correct when you hear citizens to say that that is going to impact their insurance rates. Reassessments do not impact insurance rates. I do want to make that correction. So I just want to add again, that is why we had to increase that tax rate in 2022. Okay. Please allow me to finish, Mr. Elliott. Okay.
Carry order,
All right.
please.
Okay. So, again, so those are the reasons, again, why we had to adjust for the tax rate in 2021 and 2022. The limited scope reassessment that was done in 2023, 2024, as a lot of you do understand that the limited scope assessment, again, was done based on the fact that we had to get the sales assessment ratio up for our public service. We are unique in that aspect, and we recognize that. In addition to a lot of things that we talked about in terms of cutting operating costs, I can say that the county does go through an exercise where we don't automatically increase things, board members and citizens. We do go through the exercise where we're finding opportunities to be able to reduce the county budget. The school system was here, and yes, we do pay a significant portion of our local dollars to the school system, but the school system on numerous occasions to this board and to the citizens gave a very detailed explanation as to why the school system budget and the costs that they have to incur is what it is. And in terms of the teacher pay compression and the steps, we understand that that comes at a high cost. This is something that was just not vetted this year, board members and citizens. This is something that has been talked about for quite a while. So although the difficult decisions, of course, that we have to sit up here and make, we do want to be able to say that we do our due diligence now. Not saying that nothing can always not be done better. That's not what we're saying. We always can say there's always opportunity for continuous improvement. But at the same token, we do want to make sure that the board and the citizens know that we do the best of our abilities, as you can see in a lot of our information, that we are, again, being prudent with the county's finances. So again, thank you, Mr. Morris, for sharing that. For 2024, from 2020, on average, that's only been a 0.5% increase in the actual tax rate itself. I just want to kind of share that information. And one more slide, please, sir. So there has been a lot of comments, board members, tonight that have been said about, you know, what would happen if the citizens here cannot afford to pay the taxes. And obviously, we make known that there's probably elderly citizens, and maybe those are not elderly, who probably do have a struggle in terms of paying the taxes. But it's been stated that you will move out if you cannot afford to pay your taxes. But as we have said over and over again, all the localities around you don't know what it is in other states. That's not what we're talking about. But in terms of peer localities, you have to compare peer localities. You have to do that. So in terms of what the tax rates are in all these surrounding localities, you have to recognize that information. So all those localities around us, here we go. Excuse me. You have Surry, the tax rate being 72 cents. If you look at the various assessed values, and again, we want to say that it's on average. Some of the citizens who may say that their taxes have increased significantly, that is probably true, and again, it's not the average. You have to look at all homeowners. We are hoping at some point to get an information from our assessors as to the percentage of, you know, those homeowners that were, you know, impacted and what that average was. But in terms of what an average home value is what you have to look at, because we know not all taxpayers are going to be impacted differently. But in Surry, yes, our tax rate is 72 cents. In New Kent, they're proposing a 69-cent increase. Okay, so that is lower than Surry County. But New Kent County is the fastest growing county in the Commonwealth of Virginia. If you compare the county to Dinwiddie County, their rate is 79 cents. And this shows the actual amount that you would pay if you were a citizen living in Dinwiddie County that was referenced earlier at a tax rate of 79 cents higher than Surry. James City County is right across the river, and we do have to reference James City County because we do know that we have citizens who live in Surry County who do travel to James City County for work and who commute and also enjoy the amenities of that community as well. Their tax rate is 84 cents per $100 assessed value. So that is 16.7% difference from Surry County. Isle of Wight County, yes, it was stated earlier about all the amenities that Isle of Wight County has. they have a tax rate of 85 cents per $100 of assessed values, 18% higher than Surry. Even though they have making a reduction this year, because of their tax rate being the way it was for many, many years, they have the leverage, if they desire, to be able to reduce their tax rate in a time of inflation. So you have to take that into consideration. Their tax rate being higher than Surry. They are now the 7th growing locality in the state of Virginia. Emporia, a little far out, but yes, 92 cents. Hopewell, $1.13, and Colonial Heights, $1.20. So those are some various tax rates of some other localities in surrounding area of Surry, and all of those tax rates are higher than Surry County. You can see the significant difference between Surry's tax rate and those surrounding. Did not indicate Hampton. Some citizens have made reference to Hampton as well, but again, those cities we know do have higher tax rates. So I just want to share that information with the board. I think that's, Mr. Morris, is that the only slide? You can skip that one, sir, and that one. Okay, we're fine, okay. All right, so that's just so, just want to kind of share that additional information, board members, and also I want to share to Mr. Calhoun's point earlier, we do recognize that from the last public comments that we had on the actual budget itself, board members, I do want to share that when we do have our meeting on the 18th, on this coming Thursday, in listening to some of the comments that were made by the board members, in addition to some that were made by citizens, it is an opportunity for us to be able to make some adjustments in our budget. So if you will allow me to do that, sir, and then I will ask a presentation from an additional staff member, and that may help again with some of the comments that we have heard tonight. May I do that, sir?
Please do, and I ask
Okay.
that the citizens would listen, because I want you to know that we did listen at your previous remarks, and you will see some reflections in this report now, the things that we have added to the budget.
And all right, so board members and citizens, you all know that sometimes a budget, you know, it can be a moving target, and I can say that from the time that we did our last presentation, and board members, I'm doing this now because we had to respect the process and allow the citizens first to do the public hearing as pertains to the actual budget. So that's why we're doing in this order. So there are some additions and some reductions based on the budget as it was presented back in April that I'm recommending that we make to the proposed budget when it's going to be presented to you for adoption on Thursday, if that is what the board chooses to do. So we received a request from the Commonwealth Attorney as pertains to that Victim Witness Program. That is a grant program that has traditionally been funded by the state. The county has received over the past few years $70,000 for that grant for the county's Victim Witness Program. The state is making some reductions in that program, and again, based on the fact that we have different personnel associated with that department now and costs have changed, the Commonwealth Attorney is requesting a $12,500 supplement for the Victims Witness Program. So that is recommended in a revised recommendation. We are asking the board to consider funding half of the Virginia Gateway region. That's the county's economic development arm. In the county administrator's proposed budget, we had zeroed out that request, but based on some recent conversations with our economic development coordinator, we're going to be asking for some targeted initiatives because we know that economic development is still an important initiative, so that they can assist us in those efforts. So rather than funding the full $46,000, we are asking the board to fund half of that at $23,000. Tourism, strategic efforts, and marketing. We had talked about strategic tourism being a strategic initiative. We hear it all the time, the fact that we need to get more people into the county and visiting and staying here. And we do have a tourism coordinator who's working with the county and with our farmers market and other initiatives. So what we are proposing, if you recall in the county administrator's proposed budget, we did not indicate any new positions. However, there's going to be a recommendation to actually have one full-time position that's dedicated to tourism and the farmers market. That cost of $66,000 is going to be offset by a reduction in that part-time. So that's going to be a change in the budget. We also talked about the county's need, of course, to have additional rescue services in terms of having more paid crew in the county. And I will ask Mr. Phelps to come up in just a few minutes to talk through that. But I do want to share that that is a cost of $258,000 that we're going to be adding to the proposed budget to cover the cost of EMS operational needs, which include a recommendation to have our pay provider to come and do a second paid crew in the county during peak hours, $258,000 collectively. Also, board members, this is something that we did not know at the time that we prepared the budget, but we know that we have a lot of state mandates, and I think a lot of citizens may not understand exactly what that means to a locality, to be able to have all the state mandates that you have a choice to do, but we have to do those things. So the state mandate as pertains to our Comprehensive Services Act, and for you all who don't know what that is CSA is the Comprehensive Services Act program in which we have to pay for students who receive services outside of the normal school setting. And this year, board members, I'm saying it to you now because prior to the end of the fiscal year, we're going to have to come to you and ask for a supplement because the budget this year was insufficient to cover the additional students that have to receive those mandated services by the state. So we're going to go ahead and ask for an additional $83,000 to cover those costs. So that is a budget addition of $442,000. How are you going to accommodate that? We do not recommend changing the bottom line that was already presented. We're going to make some reductions in the budget. We're going to make a reduction in the Revenue Stabilization Fund, which Ms. Swindell mentioned earlier. That Revenue Stabilization Fund was at 150. We're going to reduce that by 97,000 to help cover some of those additions. We're going to reduce small things, but $700 for the Chesterfield County Med Flight Program, and that was a letter that we received stating they no longer needed that money from us. So we're going to remove that $700. Okay, and again, I have already mentioned the offset of the market manager part-time reduction, communication costs, $6,000 reduced, additional cost savings we found there. And this is an important one, board members and citizens. I want to be able to share this. So there has been a lot of conversation surrounding the debt service. And the fact that we were dedicating 2 cents in the tax rate to fund debt service in the tune of about $8 million over a period of time to cover not just the pool, but other amenities in the county as pertains to parks, recreational, social, other projects for the youth, the young, and for all the citizens of the county. So we're recommending a change to that. So one of the things that we thought we could do is, yes, let's just dedicate 1 cent nearly to the public safety, reduce the debt service by 1 cent. That means reducing the debt service by $321,000. That will help offset those needed expenditures, mainly in public safety that we can indicate there. And 2 other reductions ran off the $442,000 there. So I want to be able to share that that would be something that I'm proposing to the board as you prepare to further deliberate. Again, it does not change the bottom line, but again, instead of dedicating those 2 cents in debt service towards those capital initiatives, we are going to recommend that we dedicate the majority of that penny towards public safety and those other items and only dedicate 1 cent towards the debt service. And that will give the county the ability to dedicate about $4 million towards additional projects. And I can say this, board members, based on the conversation, if it's the board members' desire to further vet the projects that were indicated for that funding, the board members, in conjunction with conversations that you need to have with your citizens and so forth, can do that. But it does not mean that the county should not take the opportunity to borrow the fundings because we know that there are additional needs outside of what has been presented. So those additional needs are going to come. This particular CIP, no, we did not include everything that may be inclusive. You all have spoken in terms of other needs that you would like to see in the county and to be able to engage the stakeholders to determine what those needs are. So there's an opportunity to still take advantage to to acquire that 1 cent dedicated towards funding the debt service with projects that can be further vetted at a later time. But again, maintain that 3/4 of that tax rate that you're going to get from Dominion fit with that 1 penny and dedicate it towards that. And yes, it will give you additional time to be able to vet those projects and so forth. So that is the recommendation that I have. And board members, I would like to have Mr. Phelps come up to talk real briefly in terms of us making the recommendation to have the $258,000 dedicated towards public safety, and to be able to share again what that means for the community. Thank you, Mr. Phelps.
Good evening, Chairman.
Good evening,
board
sir.
members, Ms. Rollins, Ms. Perkins, citizens of Surry County. I'm here before you tonight to speak about the Surry County Emergency Medical Services and the proposal to answer second calls for service. This is something that's been plaguing Surry County for quite some time. The goal of this is to ensure a timely emergency response to the citizens by developing methods to answer second calls for medical emergencies internally, and to decrease the need for mutual aid responses from surrounding jurisdictions. We have some current statistics that we're going to go over, and this is for the calendar year 2022. All right, 2022, the total calls that Surry County answered were 1,018 calls, while an additional 129 calls were answered through mutual aid. Our mutual aid responses are as follows. White Rescue Squad was 58 calls. Ivor answered 7 of those mutual aid calls. Sussex 57, and Prince George 7 of those calls. Mutual aid response times. What we did is we took the last couple calendar years, 2021 and 2022, and we conducted a study to find out when the peak hours of those second calls were. And we found that the peak hours were between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., 7 days a week. From 12 p.m. to 7 a.m., we only had 14 of those calls that were actually answered through mutual aid. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 111, and 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. was 12 calls. You know, just keep in mind that that's subject to change at any time. We don't get to pick the times they happen. Our proposed plan that we would like to propose before you is to contract with the Emergency Services Solution, ESS, who is our current EMS contractor, to provide a second 12-hour crew during the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., Monday through Friday. Like I said, these hours have been identified as peak hours through our study. Our desired results, once implemented, is to decrease the need and reliability on other jurisdictions for mutual aid response. This will save fees that we currently, or that Isle White will currently bill Surry County. As many of you are aware, that Isle White will bill Surry County $1,000 per call when they come into the county, so this will save those fees significantly. This also allows Surry County Emergency Medical Services to implement the following. Proactive preventive care through wellness checks and clinics, provide additional personnel for lift assist when needed, allows for a quick response on critical calls when the other crew is committed to a less severe call, provides a second crew to fulfill the requirements of having a medic unit on site at the start of home football games for Surry County. This is something that's in the regulations that they need to do. All right, the cost for this portion of the project, or this portion of the proposal, is $218,400. All right, our EMS strategic initiatives is to develop a volunteer component to the Surry County Emergency Medical Services. It would take a greater period of time to see measurable results in a volunteer squad due to state requirements. We're looking at offering a pay-per-call incentive to qualified first responders. This is where the other $40,000 comes into play to give you the total of $258,000. Steps that we've already completed to put this into place. Surry County was granted an EMS license by the state back in December of last year. Surry County has assumed management of all aspects related to emergency medical services. Surry County has been diligently working to have the former Surry Volunteer Rescue Squad relinquish Medic 12 to Surry County. This medical was obtained on a state grant and has not fulfilled the obligations associated with the grant. The medic unit included in the 2023 CIP for a total of $398,000 with a potential savings of $42,000 was ordered and has a projected delivery date in the third quarter of 2024. That $42,000 savings is based on the availability of the chassis, a 2023 chassis versus a 2024 chassis. And that's something we have no control over, so we put that into the budget, into that price, so that hopefully we would save that money in the end. All right, Surry County Emergency Management is looking forward to aligning all these working components to provide a more robust EMS response to the citizens of Surry County. And I thank you for allowing us to present this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps. And as you all can see, you know, when we purchased that medic this year, it was in the budget for $320,000. Those costs continue to rise. When we got the quote, it was $398,000 with the potential savings for $40,000. So that means we have to come back to the board and ask for a budget amendment. So we always don't want to kind of cut ourselves short, but we understand that budgets, you have to make those provisions. So I just want to share that again, so it won't be a surprise to you. We would have to come back and make those budgetary adjustments. So, and one of the important takeaways, board members, from the presentation that was done the last time was the need to make investments in the community in order to spur economic growth and lessen the dependency on the residential taxpayers and homeowners in the county. A diversified tax base, as many have said tonight, will provide additional revenue in the form of commercial tax revenue, sales, your meals tax, as well as other fees associated with expansion of your tax base. So I just kind of wanted to say that in conclusion is in terms of the budget this year, and I've heard a lot of folks say that it was a budget that really focused on investment in the community. And again, we can make those recommended changes, and we can talk about those at the next meeting. The only other thing, board members, on your agenda tonight is the proposed fees for Parks and Recreation. These are just very slight increases that we are proposing in certain fees for Parks and Recreation. We are not asking for any action on this tonight, but it's just for your informational purposes. And then when we do adopt the budget at the next meeting, those fee increases will be incorporated into the budget for fiscal year 23-24.
Thank you, Ms. Rawlings. Just for clarity on the presentation that Mr. Phelps made, as far as our emergency service is concerned, those expenditures, wouldn't that be, just for clarity, the amount that on the tax rate that we're talking about, the 72 cents, wouldn't that be about 1 cent that we're talking about on the tax rate to include? Because all the citizens are asking, and I appreciate you all speaking in reference to emergency services, ambulance, and the need for coverage. I want you to know that that has been a great concern of mine and the rest of the board. That is, in this effort to bring a whole new paid crew in is now included in the budget. And that is an offset of about 1 cent of that 72 cents, from 70 to 72 cents. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just about it. Again, that amount being $258,000, and if 1 cent in the tax rate is roughly $334,000, so it's close to 1 penny that we can dedicate towards public safety. And again, that may not even be inclusive of what the total cost is. And as I stated before, the amount that's in the budget currently for the paid crew that we already have existing is $647,000. That is roughly 2 cents on the tax rate just for the current pay crew that we have. And as Mr. Phelps just alluded to, the one that we are proposing to get, is just, again, it's for 12 hours, which would make a considerable difference. But if you were to try to do even more than that, you have to think about that that would be doubled as well. So, just wanted to kind of share that information. And again, these are not all the needs. You know, when we talk about the debt service over a period of time, and it has mentioned about the $9.6 million and what the projects may be, those things can certainly be vetted, again, by the board. They can be vetted by whatever conversations that you have with the citizens. We know that there are other public safety needs, schedules of those fire engines and things that the county have purchased, and still will probably have to, you know, get, even in that 5-year period, that may not necessarily been included in here, but we know those things are on the horizon, as it was stated earlier by a citizen in terms of the county planning for a CIP process. So there are many needs in the community. Not all of them have been identified. So that is why I think it's still critical that the board consider, albeit the comments of still investing that 1 cent towards making sure that you're able to borrow the needed funds to be able to have those critical priority projects that you may see for the county.
To invest in the county. Thank you, Ms. Rollins. Are there any other board comments before I refer back to Mr. Calhoun? Ms. Little?
No.
Mr. Pierce?
No, sir.
Mr. Calhoun, your floor.
Thank you, sir. I would again like to make a motion this evening to postpone the meeting on Thursday for the approval of the budget, so that staff can, based on the comments provided today and any other additional comments that staff has received from the public, as well as their own comments or recommendations for reduction within the budget, as well as mine, that I've sent out to you all, postpone this meeting on Thursday to have an additional work session to discuss some potential reductions in the budget to hopefully reduce the current rate of 72 cents to hopefully to at least a minimum of 70 cents, if not lower, based on not only my recommendations, but any others that the board has, and postpone that meeting for Thursday, please.
We have a motion from Board Member Calhoun to postpone the approval of the budget. Can we have a second of the motion? Are there any other further discussions on the motion?
Mr. Chair, I just need some clarity from point of information, I guess.
Mr. Pierce?
I just want to understand from Mr. Calhoun, if we were to meet again for another work session, exactly how would it delay the budget? I guess that's my question. I understand that there are some procedures that we have to make if we want to postpone, like as far as advertising. So if we were to consider postponing, how far would that push the budget off? I don't know if that's a question for the attorney or for Mr. Calhoun.
Mr. Chairman, if I may try and respond to Mr. Pierce's question.
Ms. Perkins, yes.
So in terms of the legal requirements, the public hearings have taken place regarding the budget, and tonight regarding the tax rate. Those public hearings were opened and were closed. So that fulfills all the legal requirements in terms of what needs to be advertised. If the board wishes to have another work session prior to approving the budget, that is permissible from a legal standpoint. If you wish to proceed and have that vote on Thursday, that is permissible from a legal standpoint. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it does. But I have another question, I guess. Hypothetically, if we were to have another work session, do we have to advertise for the voting that we're supposed to do on Thursday? Do we have to re-advertise that for another day? Or we don't? Okay.
No, sir.
Thank you.
We have, still have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? There is no second motion. It's not carried. If there are no other business to entertain us tonight, we will be adjourned until Thursday at 7 o'clock.
Thank you all.